Hi everyone, my name is Heather Monroe and I am a licensed clinical social worker. Today I thought that we would talk about boundaries, and specifically I wanted to talk about intellectual boundaries. When I say a boundary system, I am referring to two things. The first aspect of a boundary system is what we put in place in order to protect us from others and from the outside world, so that we aren't continuously infiltrated by other people's ideas, emotions, and physical behaviors. But the other part of a boundary system that's just as important is how we protect others and the outside world from ourselves, so that we don't offend through our ideas and through the ways that we show emotion and through our behaviors. Now, these boundary systems become dysfunctional when we have relational trauma in the family system. So, in reference to intellectual boundaries, if you come from a family that did not allow you as a child to explore your own ideas and beliefs and thinking, if instead your thoughts were denied or continuously dismissed as wrong, as undervalued, and not they weren't included in the family system. So even when people debated, because ideas should be challenged, but when they're challenged by a caretaker in a very dismissive and disrespectful way, that is very different than being challenged in a way that's inclusive, with curiosity, just trying to understand where the child is coming from. So children who had their thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and perceptions denied or dismissed or shamed, like, you shouldn't be thinking that way, that's wrong. The right way is how I think. The wrong way is how you think. When that continuously happens to a child, they grow up believing that their ideas and beliefs have less value than others. So when they come across a person with a different idea than they have, or different thinking than they have, and that person comes across with more confidence and more assertion than they do, they will have a hard time not taking on those person's thoughts into their belief system and believing that their thinking is somehow less than that other person's, or just wrong in general. So because of that, they're constantly infiltrated by other people's ideas and beliefs. And they have what I like to call a watery sense of perception, that their ideas can always change and are never, they're never fixed, and they're never fixed in a way that feels right to them, because they don't have a really good sense of who they are and what they believe in. Another way, the opposite end of it, is if a child is falsely empowered. So in the first example, that child is disempowered. But what happens when a child is falsely empowered is they are made to believe that their thoughts hold more value than anybody else's. So they grow up to believe that their thoughts are better than other people's. And they are not concerned with offending other people with their thought system, with their belief system, and their perceptions, because they believe that their thoughts are right and others' thoughts are wrong, which means that they can be uncontained, that they can't read a room, that they can't allow kind debate, that they can't allow challenge to their thought belief system. So as much as they are more protected from other people infiltrating their own thoughts, they automatically wall it off and deny other people's thoughts. But on top of that, they're uncontained around the way that they express their thoughts. So usually it can be aggressive, it can be assertive, it's really big energy, it takes up space in a room, and it's not inclusive. It's very exclusive. There's not a lot of room for other people's opinions and ideas to infiltrate that circle of belief. So that's just a really quick rundown of intellectual boundaries, containment, and boundaries. And it's an example of what happens when a child is disempowered versus falsely empowered. I'm really curious if any of this resonated with you guys, and whether you tend to err on the side of disempowerment or of false empowerment, and how, and if you've recognized any sense of whether you have issues around containment or issues around being boundary less or being boundary full. I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts.